What a mess in Morgantown, ladies and gentlemen. Who will replace Bob Huggins? Who gets their guy? We're going to talk about all that. This is Couz.
And this is Mountaineer Paul.
And we are live here with another episode of
Hoops from the Hills, baby.
What is going on out there, Mountaineer Nation and college hoops fans? Bob Huggins' replacement. That's the news of the day. That's the story of the day. It's been the story of the last several days. And there's a lot going on. Paul and I have been basically refreshing our message boards today. We've been reaching out to sources that we have. We've been talking to people, keeping up with the rumor mill, getting on Twitter to see what people are saying, the whole 9 yards, man. And we're trying to hopefully update you guys on what we're seeing and what we're hearing. First of all, the news hit, I guess, late last night that Trey Mitchell had entered the transfer portal. And not really shocked that a player hit the portal. I didn't really expect it to be him, to be honest. So, Paul, what are your initial thoughts on that news?
Well, it's not all bad with Trey. He is monitoring the situation and is 100% possibly could come back to Morgantown. It's very possible. More possible than usual in these scenarios. So I think, you can look at it one of two ways. Was this a show of power by a player saying, look, I want my guy too, and if I don't get him, I don't feel like somebody's going to coach me to the level I feel like they should or can. This is what the power I have, and I can exercise it. If something happens that I agree with, then I'll come back. I think that's the day and age we live in. Players have a lot of power these days. Similar to the NBA, players kind of have a say now. So I think, with Trey, he's being offered a lot of money. A lot of people are talking to him. Kentucky keeps being brought up, which is one of Hugs' longtime friends in John Calipari. So I'm sure that if Trey were to ask Hugs about Cal, he would probably have nothing but good things to say about him. And from Hugs' point of view, anyway, he probably wishes Trey the best and wants him to have a good career. And he knows he would do that at Kentucky, especially since we've already seen Oscar Tshiebwe transfer from West Virginia to Kentucky and have a very, very successful deal. And that's probably the recruiting pitch he's hearing. Hey, look, we've already gotten a guy from West Virginia before he became National Player of the Year. Oh, by the way, we can afford to pay you too. It's hard to turn that down.
Right. And guys, as we get into the conversation here, we're obviously just now getting started here on this live stream, covering the West Virginia coaching search news and updates. If you guys want to steer this conversation the way you want it to go, we are now able to accept super chats on the channel. So if you guys, there's a little dollar sign there in the bottom corner near the chat box. If you want to get your comment highlighted, make sure we see it. Feel free to hit that. Throw us a little small donation. It all goes right back here to the channel. Helps us to do more work here and bring you guys hopefully even more content. So with that being said, I totally agree with what you said, Paul. I think, and it also could be not only a power of individual, Trey's individual power as a player, but power as a group. They could be, maybe this is a way for them to send a signal to the administration, to Wren Baker, whoever, to say, hey, we've got the power here, and if you don't bring us the coach we want, this is what's going to happen. And maybe he was the first one to do that. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's a little out there, but you never know, because the word on the street is, and I don't think this is a rumor. I think this has pretty much been confirmed by several people you and I have talked to behind the scenes. The players are adamant. They want either an internal guy to be promoted to the coach, whether Josh Eilert, Ron Everhart, whoever, or they want, if it's going to be an outside guy, they're wanting Andy Kennedy. They don't want John Beilein. So, John Beilein may not even be in the picture anymore. I don't know. And of course, let's be frank. I don't think Beilein's ever really said for sure if he's even interested, so it may not matter. But I don't think the players want John Beilein. So if they hire John Beilein, we could lose the majority of this roster. And I think that's probably going to, based on what we're hearing, that's probably going to be the case unless they do one of the things I just mentioned, either promote somebody from within or bring in Andy Kennedy. Are you hearing the same thing?
Hearing the same things, yeah. With the Beilein situation, I think there was even speculation that maybe they could set his son up for future success in Patrick Beilein. maybe even sweeten the pot for John and say, hey, look, you can even bring Patrick in, maybe do a coaching waiting type situation. Speculation. Never substantiated that. But
Right.
I could see West Virginia administration maybe mulling over that. If Patrick showed that he would be a good coach in 2 or 3 years, he would be a great successor to John. Unfortunately, I think that deal was probably dead this morning from everything I've heard with John Beilein. People I've talked to that are in the know, that are in the media, unfortunately think that deal was killed this morning. Or else they felt like it would have been done this morning. I've seen Dusty May in the chat there, guys. I know not everybody follows this as passionately as Couz and I do, and some of you, but this is down. We're getting down to brass tacks here, and there's 2 or 3 names that we're hearing. Now, it could happen. Wren and Gordon Gee could come out of left field with somebody for sure. That's very possible. But as of right now, the way it looks from all the info we have, it's Josh Eilert, maybe Ron Everhart, Andy Kennedy, and that's about where the buck stops at this point in time, from what I know.
Yeah, but keep in mind, this is fluid, guys. This could change. Yesterday, we were talking about how John Beilein was arguably the top candidate, and we were hearing that. And then all of a sudden, you have players saying, hey, that's not what we want, or we're out of here. You also have boosters pushing back against that. The boosters want their people. And whether that's good or bad, you can make the argument, we don't need boosters running the program. They need to let Wren do his job. That's a fair argument. But you could also make the argument, hey, these are the guys paying a lot of these. I don't want to say guys. A lot of these donors are the ones paying the NIL deals. They're the ones putting money into the Mountaineer Athletic Club. They have a right to speak their mind and say what they want. And I kind of fall in the middle. I kind of see it both ways. I just hate to see it like this behind the scenes. From everything we're hearing, it's kind of chaotic. A little bit of a power struggle going on here, which is not that uncommon in college sports. I don't think I think it happens everywhere, but obviously we're closer to the situation here in Morgantown or at West Virginia, I should say. But there is a bit of a power struggle. And just to kind of segue that into this comment here from Josh, do you all think donors would accept one of the assistants as head coach? I do, actually. I think that's one of the things being pushed for because they want to keep this roster together, and also because most of the donors, is my understanding, are huge Hug supporters. They back Hugs, and they want one of Hugs' guys to be coaching this basketball team. So that's kind of two different reasons there that I think the donors would accept one of the assistants. And I think it's going to be either Eilert or Everhart, like Paul mentioned, because those are the 2 guys. Everhart's been a head coach before in college basketball. He's coached at McNeese State, I think Northeastern, and Duquesne. And then you've got Eilert, who's been an assistant under Huggins for 17 years now, ever since he left K-State, or was at K-State, I should say. So one of those 2 guys will likely end up getting a lot. I've seen a lot of people mention DeMar Johnson. The players love DeMar Johnson, but he's only been an actual coach on the floor for 1 season, and that was this past season. So I don't think he's ready yet. But the good thing is, if Eilert or Everhart get the job, they will likely retain DeMar Johnson as part of the staff, more than likely. So that's a good thing. We will probably see Jay Kuntz retained on the staff. So they can keep majority of the staff together. They might have to bring in an assistant. They could hire Alex Ruoff to be a full-time coach. We've heard that maybe there's been rumblings that maybe Jordan McCabe is looking to become a grad assistant. There's a lot of things that were already in motion that could potentially stay in motion if one of these guys get promoted, Paul.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And I've seen a few people mention Trey in the chat. If you weren't here in the beginning of the show, we said this, that Trey was in the portal, but he was still monitoring the situation. It is not 100% gone as of now, although I would be surprised if he came back. I think at this point, I think it's going to take the perfect hire and the perfect situation and probably some more money. And to be completely honest, I don't think he's worth more than he's already being paid. I don't think they should go that route. This is just my opinion. He averaged 11 and 5 last year, guys. So while he's a good player and potentially could be a better player, I don't think we should pay him like lottery pick money or first round NBA talent money. Just my personal opinion. I think we could replace him with somebody that could do 11-5. That's just me, but I would certainly welcome him back and think he's a great piece on this roster. But I just don't want everybody to think that this team can't succeed now that he could possibly be gone. Couz may feel different. That's my opinion.
Obviously, you and I've talked about this a lot off camera. I'm a lot higher on Trey than you are as a player, but I do understand also from an NIL standpoint, I'm not necessarily saying he should be worth more money. And that segues into what I want to talk about next, it's part of the conversation. But earlier, Fran Fraschilla. We all know Fran Fraschilla, one of the most respected analysts in the game, really close to Bob Huggins. And I would say he is a friend of the West Virginia program to an extent, or at least he was when Hugs was there. Here's what he put out on Twitter. He quote tweeted one of Voice of Morgantown's tweets, and he said this: "My advice, find the right coach. Do not worry about players leaving. The transfer portal allows a good coach to rebuild in 1 year. Respectfully, the high likelihood is that there is no NBA talent on current roster." And he put in parentheses, "I didn't say definitely not." So Fran Fraschilla is not as high on this roster as a lot of us fans are. He's not saying it's not a good roster. He just means there's no elite talent, no NBA caliber players on the roster. So he thinks it's more important for Wren Baker to go out and hire somebody that's good for the program long term rather than worry about trying to salvage one season. I think at least that's based on that tweet and other tweets Fran has put out. I think that's his opinion, and I respect that opinion. Do I agree with it? Not 100%. But I'm also a fan, and I look at this sometimes through gold and blue glasses. So Fran's not doing that. He's looking at this, from a higher level and from the outside. So he's much more or much less biased than you or I or any of us on this chat probably would be.
Yeah, and what's crazy about that is when you think about it, name a national media outlet that said this is the top half of the Big 12 roster. You can't find one. Mm-hmm. There are people that say this is the number one. There are people that have said this is the number one transfer portal class. There are people that said it's in the top 5. Now it's probably top 10. If Trey leaves, that doesn't really count towards the portal class, so it'd still be the same. But that does not necessarily transfer over to roster because you have to project how these guys are all going to fit together. And it seems to me like people are projecting this roster not to play so super well together based on the individual components. Now, I don't know why, but I mean, anything I've heard has said, no, not top half of the Big 12 roster. So all of us fans have been thinking, okay, this is like a Elite 8, Final Four type squad. And even I have been high on this squad, and I watched the heck out of tape. But it doesn't mean I'm a professional with this or have what would be credible as a professional opinion, really. So, when I look at that stuff, I pay attention, and it makes me wonder if I'm looking through it, like you said, with the gold and blue glasses and what I do every football season. Just like Herb Street yesterday, I was arguing over Herb Street saying we wouldn't win more than 6 games. In my head, yeah, we can win 12 games.
Right. Yeah. Guys, by the way, please like the video if you haven't yet. That really helps with that YouTube algorithm, whether you're watching it live or watching it on the replay. The like button really helps promote our stuff. Jordan Cruz, thanks for hopping on here, man. If you haven't yet, go check out Jordan's work over at Country Roads Webcast. Another big West Virginia fan, a great West Virginia channel. He commented, I get the players wanting to promote from within, but if it's Eilert, then I'm super nervous about having a coach with 0 head coaching experience. Confusing situation to me. Yeah, Jordan, there are a lot of people who feel that way. I find it's funny. Mountaineer fan base is really split on this. You've got a lot of people who want an internal promotion. You've got a lot of people who want an outside guy. And I kind of find myself just wanting it to be over with, man. I'll be honest with you. I had opinions about that a couple of days ago. I was really high on Beilein coming in, but I was also at first really high on promoting Eilert. And I kind of go back and forth on it. I see both sides of the coin. I'm at a point now. I just want to have a coach, man. I just want to move on from this.
Resolution. Yeah, we just want a resolution.
Yeah.
Guys, we're getting up there in the chat. So we said it at the beginning. We'll say it one more time. If you can support the channel, guys, we really appreciate it. We just got it monetized. You can hit that $sign and support the channel to get your comment highlighted and be a part of the show. If you want to take the show a different direction, even if it's a football question, throw it in there. We don't care. we'll answer it. We do football too. Other than that, though, I think I'm with you on that, Couz. Want a resolution, man. I'm so sick. You know, honestly, at the end of the day, these players, even though they're being compensated well, are being drugged through the mud. It's not fair to them. This situation is not fair to the players, to the coaches. They're at that practice facility, even as of yesterday, practicing their asses off and doing everything they can to try to block out the noise. But this is a true test. I really do think if this team stays together, they'll be galvanized. I really do think so.
Yeah. And you mentioned, the NIL piece there. I want to let everybody know that I am 100% confident that Country Roads Trust is working their tails off to make sure that they can do what they can to keep this roster together. I'm telling you guys, I promise you that they're working hard behind the scenes, doing what they can do, within the
legally,
rules, obviously. Yeah, within the rules to help keep this thing together. They want to see this roster stay together. They want to keep it intact. I think I read the other day or heard the other day on a podcast that there has been somebody step up and make a $100,000 donation to Country Roads Trust for the basketball program. So there are things like that going on, and Country Roads Trust is doing their part. So I don't want to. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that, I think, and give some credit to that team over there at CRT. Josh has a comment here. He says, "No offense to Trey, but I would much rather lose Trey than I would battle Kurt or Edwards. I have faith in Josiah Harris's development and Pat Sumnick's. If he does for sure leave, Yetna could help WVU." Yeah, I mean, and Paul Mulcahy too. Don't forget about him.
Yeah, he's still very much involved.
Yeah, the kid from Rutgers. I almost forgot. I almost said Ohio State. Got a super chat here, guys. Jake Rice jumping in the chat. Thank you, Jake. We appreciate your support, man. He says, "Appreciate you guys and your hard work." We appreciate the super chat and your continual support of what we do here, Jake. Not only here, but over at our football channels as well. Thank you. And
Appreciate that, Jake.
Speaking of that, if you guys aren't aware, Paul and I both have our own football channels. Mountaineer Paul Talks Football is his channel. Mine is called Couz's Corner. We cover West Virginia football, a little bit of Big 12, national headlines, things like that. But the last several days, man, we've been focused really hard right here on this channel, bringing you guys updates on this coaching search thing. Got Joey Foster in here. He says, "Howdy, Mountaineers."
Joey Foster.
Yep.
I bet he knows something. I bet he knows something.
Matt P says, "I don't think Trey is deaf and gone either, Kenny. I'd say if we can't get Beilein, just go with Eilert for a year with the goal of keeping this roster intact, then make a decision." Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm at the point I'll take the options that are on the table right now. I'm okay with any of them, to be honest. I'm okay with Everhart. I'm okay with Eilert, even though Eilert would probably be my preference just because he's younger. And I think he can relate to the players a little easier. But I'm okay with whatever. And I'm okay. I said the other day, Andy Kennedy would be, other than John Beilein, obviously, Andy Kennedy would be my next choice if they hire an outsider. I think Andy Kennedy's a good basketball coach. I know there's a lot of people who disagree because he hasn't made the NCAA tournament a lot. But, guys, he has coached at schools where it is really hard to make the tournament at. He doesn't – to make the tournament at UAB, you basically have to win your conference pretty much. It's hard to do that. And to make it at Ole Miss, you have to play a really hard schedule because Ole Miss, the SEC is not typically a really strong basketball conference. So you basically have to win 25 games or more to get in if you don't win your conference tournament. So I think he's coached at tough places to make it. He's won 20 games multiple times. I think he's a good coach. But, I know some people don't agree with that.
No, I'm with you 100%. He won 20 games 9 times while he was at Ole Miss. They weren't selected for the tournament almost every one of those times. But, I mean, if you remember, he had a player by the name of Marshall Henderson that was very similar to an Eric Stevenson kind of player. I love that guy, man. A lot of people hated him. He was like a Stevenson. People loved to hate him. Mm-hmm. Apparently in the SEC, he wasn't liked very much. But he plays an exciting brand of basketball. Look at Jelly Walker. Look at those guys they have at UAB right now. They have got some studs over there. They went 29-10 last year. and still I think got snubbed. But you know, I really do think if he had the same resources that Bob Huggins has had, I think Andy Kennedy could be successful. How successful? I don't know. Maybe he has a lower ceiling than some others. Maybe Josh Eilert gets the job and takes off with it. I think that's something that a lot of people have not considered yet is, you know, Josh Eilert, if he were to take over and what's left stays, is being blessed with a pretty good roster to work with. Maybe in a one-year scenario, he proves to be the guy going forward. Now, I don't think anybody's considered that. Everybody said a 1 year and move on. But if Josh Eilert wins 25 games, what do you do?
Right.
You know?
Right. It'd be like the Texas situation. You know?
He did not say he wasn't leaving UAB. He said, don't believe fake news. Words matter, man. You know, I understand that you thought you read it like that, but go back and look at it. He said, don't believe fake news. People were naming him as basically the head coach 2 days ago. And all he was saying was, no, that's not true. He didn't say, I'm not going to West Virginia. Just my opinion.
He was putting that tweet up, in my opinion, just to satisfy his donors, his bosses at UAB, his players, because he didn't want that getting around. And he also, something else I found really ironic, and maybe it's just because of the timing of the tweets he was trying to dispel, but he put it up at like 1 a.m. Eastern time. So
I thought that was weird too.
He could have waited to the next day had he wanted to. Guys, I'm looking here. I'm only showing about 13 likes on this video so far. If you guys don't mind, please hit the like button. You may have to exit out of the chat room if you're watching on a phone. You may have to hit the X button and get out of the chat real quick. Hit that like button and come right back in. It only takes a second, but that really helps us out, guys. Got another super chat, Mr. Nathan Scott. We thank you, Nathan. $1.99 super chat. It says, it would be crazy if Kennedy leaves after tweet. It would be a little crazy, but coaches do it all the time, man. The most famous one I can think of is Nick Saban saying he wasn't going to leave the Dolphins. Next thing you know, he's Alabama. So
what about Rich Rod?
Rich Rod. So, I mean, what are they supposed to say? Yeah, I'm really interested in that job and I want to leave. You can't say that. That's like any other job. If I went to my employer today and said, hey, man, I'm not real happy. I think I'm going to go job hunting.
You're fired.
They're going to tell me hit the bricks, man. You can't do that. But it would be interesting because a lot of people did jump to the conclusion that he was not leaving, and maybe he won't. But a lot of people jump to the conclusion. But my understanding is, based on what Paul and I are hearing behind the scenes, Andy Kennedy is still a candidate for this job.
Money matters, and they can afford to pay him about a quadruple almost what he makes at UAB. So put yourself in Andy Kennedy's shoes. Yes, that's your alma mater. Yes, you've got a pretty good team. You've definitely got a good player, Jelly Walker. But would a quadruple, maybe times 3 in pay, would that convince you to possibly think about it?
Mm-hmm.
And what if you can bring some of those players with you? If he leaves, they get a 30-day window, just like anybody else, just like Hugs did with us, right? 30-day window to transfer. He could bring guys with him. Something to talk about. Why hasn't Jelly Walker left? If Jelly Walker were to go on the open market, he would probably be a top 10 to 15 guy in the portal.
By the way, I didn't watch the draft.
I thought he
was in the draft. I mean, he was eligible for the draft, but I don't know if he got drafted.
Right. I honestly thought he had another year there. I hadn't paid attention.
I don't know. He may have another year, but I think he could still. But I don't know. He may have.
Well, he would have had to have declared at some point, or he would not be a part of UAB.
It's my understanding he's not eligible, but I could be wrong on that, Paul.
Okay.
But I could, like I said, and I'm only taking that by some tweets I saw out about his draft workouts and stuff. He was working out with the team just a few days ago. But Steve Thomas, we got another $5 super chat. Steve, we thank you, man, for your support here. Says, have they asked the kids who they want? The kids, I don't know if they've asked them per se, but the players have made it clear who they want. And that is they want one of the assistants to be promoted, whether it be Josh Eilert, whether it be Ron Everhart, or if they want Andy Kennedy, the UAB coach, is my understanding. That's what seems to be the case. That's what we're hearing from multiple people. That's what we're seeing on message boards. That's kind of the smoke right now, is that the players want one of those guys. And anybody else, They're not going to be happy, and they're probably going to leave. That's whether even John Beilein. To me, that's baffling because you got a guy that's coached in the NBA and who's been to 2 Final Fours. Why would you not want to play for that guy? But I'm not the players. I can't. I don't know. I don't know what it's like to be a Division I college athlete. I've never experienced it, so I don't want to try to. I'm not going to trash those players for having that opinion because I've not been in their situation. I just find it from the outside looking in as a fan, it's baffling. But nonetheless, that's what the players want. But that was a great question.
Moving on to a theme I've seen in the chat there too is, are there any other players looking to transfer? There is a name that's come up today, Joe Toussaint. Not sure exactly, where he has in the decision-making process. We probably won't know unless it happens. But I do know that there is smoke behind it, just like there was smoke behind Trey yesterday, and that happened. So, unfortunately, I feel like Joe would be a pretty big loss as well. Hope he doesn't do that.
Yeah, Joe's one of my favorite players on that team, man. I love the effort the guy plays with. He's got that ice water in his veins, man. He can make a big shot when you need a big shot. He can take it to the rim. I really like his game, and he's a great defender too. Joey Foster says, I think Trey is just pushing West Virginia to make a decision already. Go with players, go with fans, or go with their heart, but do something. Joey, I agree, man. I agree.
Thanks for the super chat, by the way, Steve Thomas. I meant to say that.
What about DeMar? I just don't think DeMar has enough coaching experience yet, but I do think he's a very important piece of the staff. And if they promote Eilert or Everhart, they will likely keep DeMar on staff. More than likely, they would probably keep this staff together.
Oh yeah, they probably would for sure.
I'd like to see Ruoff get rewarded as well. I wanted to talk about this for a minute, and this could be unpopular, and I'm not speaking for Paul here, but here's my opinion on that petition. I'm not signing it. Bob Huggins made 2 crucial mistakes that a head coach of a Power 5 basketball team cannot make in the matter of 6 weeks. At any other program in the country, that coach is gone. Any other coach at West Virginia does that, they would be gone the first time, probably. They wouldn't have even hung around for the second time. He was already on probation. And if the school comes out, we all remember when he made that statement on the radio. The school came out and said, he is now on we have a 0 tolerance policy. Any more mistakes, he's gone. Well, once they said that, they have to stand by that. If not, they lose total credibility as a university and as an athletic program. And I love Bob Huggins, and he's arguably one of my favorite Mountaineers of all time, right? But we got to step back and be real here. No one individual is ever bigger than the university or the team. I said that once before when we had the slur issue, which, by the way, I did not think he should have been fired after that, but I did after this one because it was a second issue in such a short span of time. But I do respect people's opinion that think he shouldn't have been fired. That's your right. I'm not bashing you for that, but the chat asked for my opinion, so I wanted to give you my opinion. Paul, do you want to speak to that or no?
Sure. Here's my opinion. Signing this petition it's a waste of time, guys. Sure, you can kind of make your voice heard. It's kind of like voting, but personally, it's not going to change. So, I like to talk about acceptance, right? It's the last part of the grieving process. The grieving process always starts out with denial, and it always ends with acceptance. And we have to come to a place of acceptance with the Bob Huggins situation. Acceptance does not mean agreement. If I accept something that had happened, doesn't mean I have to agree with it, but it means I have to accept it. And I have to accept that Bob Huggins has resigned, probably forcefully, and it's probably not going to be back. And there's nothing I can do as an individual or in a group of us really to change that. It would take an insurmountable amount of signatures for that to really be considered. We're talking into the hundreds of thousands probably. So I don't think that's something, while I get people are trying to show their support, I don't think that this thing is To be honest, if I really thought it would help, yes, I would sign it. I would take Bob Huggins back. Call me what you want, but I would take Bob Huggins back. I would. I think he was meant for us and we for him. As long as with the caveat that he got the help that he needed first. If he was abstinent from alcohol and going to AA meetings or whatever he needed to do, I don't want to say he's a full-fledged alcoholic because there are levels to it. He could be the heavy drinker, but we don't want to get into all that. Basically, I just think this is something that he would need to do first. I want to thank Kenny for the super chat of $2.
Yeah, thank you. WVU Mountaineer there with Kenny. We thank you, man. Thanks for the support of the channel. John Waffle, H2P with the super chat. Thank you, man. He says, $1.99 super chat. Thanks, John. He says, what do you think of his daughter calling out Gee?
It's her dad.
Yeah, it's her dad, man. She's defending her dad. You cannot fault her for that. Do I think she helped things? I don't. I think it may have made it worse. Because people are now making jokes about it. I watched a show the other day, the College Chaos podcast, that's part of the 365 Sports Network. They were talking about it. They were kind of poking fun at the fact he was recycling. It didn't help things at all. But she was trying. She was getting something off of her chest. She was going to bat for her dad. And if my daughter did that for me, I would be tickled. I would be proud, that my kid was standing by me like that. So no ill will towards her whatsoever. She did what she felt she needed to do in her heart, and you can't fault somebody for that. But overall, I don't really think it changes anything.
Agreed.
Guys, one thing I meant to do earlier and I had just forgotten to do. There was a tweet that I'm going to share with you guys here that was put out earlier by Jeff Goodman just a little while ago. Says West Virginia AD
about
Wren
Monday.
Baker. Huh? No, this was today.
Sorry.
At 12:16 p.m. West Virginia AD Wren Baker sat down with assistants Ron Everhart and Josh Eilert yesterday and will do a Zoom today with UAB's Andy Kennedy, source told at Stadium. That's not complete list of candidates to replace Bob Huggins, but Baker hopeful to have a new coach in place by Monday per source. And then right after that, he quote tweeted that with this. Let me pull it up. Let's see. Yeah, he quote tweeted it with this. West Virginia AD Wren Baker hired search firm which has been reaching out to agents of bigger name candidates. Issue is most of them aren't leaving in late June, and a ton also have huge buyouts. The pool right now is primarily mid-major head coaches. So if you want to know why the conversation has changed, because let's go back to, I guess it was Sunday, maybe, whatever day it was Wren Baker met with the team the first time. Maybe it was Monday. I don't remember the date. It's my understanding, and Paul, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's my understanding he told the guys he had no intentions of hiring from within and was going to do a national search. Now it appears we're coming back around and he's changing his tune a little bit on that because of what Jeff Goodman just said. The timing of this thing is really hard. Guys don't want to leave their team just a few months before the season starts. And a lot of these guys have major buyouts. So a lot of the fans out there on social media are saying he needs to be going after bigger name coaches. There's your answer. It's not feasible in June when you start season. And I mean, they start practice, what, September, October?
Yeah.
August? I don't know when they start practice. But they start playing games in November. So right now is a terrible time to be hiring.
They're practicing now.
Well, yeah, they're doing summer
Yeah.
workouts. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's a terrible time to hire a coach right now, guys. Just a terrible time. So he's limited. Wren Baker is limited on what he can do. And another thing I want to talk about, Paul, and you and I talked about this off camera. I haven't seen a lot of this, but I have seen some of this. Fans are upset at Wren Baker. Guys, Wren Baker has walked into an absolute hornet's nest here. I think he's doing everything he possibly can to try to do the right thing here. You got to remember, he has boosters in his ear. He has President Gee in his ear, who's his boss. He has the players the current players on the roster he has to think about. He has the fan base he has to think about. And then he also has to battle his own, values and his own opinions. I mean, guys, he's got a tough job right here. I would not want his job right now. I don't know. He's making $1 million a year. I think I'd take it. But anyway, all joking aside, he has a really tough job. And I just don't think we should be throwing any shade at all towards Wren Baker right now. Now, I wish he hadn't have made that statement he made to the players, taking the interim roles off the table, because I think that upset the guys and made them start looking at the portal maybe. But that being said, at that time he thought that was the best. He was trying to be transparent with them, trying to be upfront and honest. And maybe he just shouldn't have said. Maybe that's one of those things he shouldn't have been. Maybe he was too transparent in that situation and shouldn't have told him that. But nonetheless, he did. But he's coming back around, it looks like, and keeping that option open. So, Paul, I mean, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. I think the teams go back to practice officially in October, though.
Okay. Yes, thank you. I couldn't remember the exact date.
Yeah. I guess, I'm with you, though. I mean, Wren Baker, like we said, there are a few regretful things, like you said, what he told the players. But I think Wren probably has been long-sighted from the very beginning with this. That was his first goal, was to not be short-sighted. These are good players. There are more good players out there. If not this year, next year. The funding and the backing is going to be there for the right coach. And I think, if it had been a Beilein, I would have really trusted him to build a squad. McCollum, I've seen a bunch of people mention him in the chat. Couz and I have researched him and watched interviews. McCollum's never dealt with NIL in his life ever yet. They don't even do it at the Division II level. They don't even do it. He's never had a transfer. At least this past year, they didn't have one transfer. So that would be, in my opinion, the biggest learning curve for him is going from, basically how college basketball used to be at the D2 level, where you recruit and you develop players over a 3 or 4 years time span. Maybe one transfer comes in and out every now and then. To it's fluid all the time. You're constantly managing their roster. Players are basically free agents. They have power. Kerr Kreisa just entered the transfer portal.
Are you serious?
Just got an update.
Jiminy Christmas.
Somebody just messaged me.
Oh my gosh. See, I want to know, this is a totally separate conversation, but I want to know what happens to that automobile or whatever it was he just got from Toothman. Does he have to give that back? Which, Paul and I are working on trying to get Stephen Ford back on the show to ask him some of those questions about, but he's obviously extremely busy right now. So we're going to try to get with him, after the weekend's over. But yeah, so we are going to try to get some answers on the NIL from Stephen Ford on how that works. But that's just a side note. But guys, please like the video. We have 107 people, and last time I looked, we only had 42 likes. Please hit the thumbs up. It's totally free, guys. I don't mean to badger you about it, but it literally only takes about a second to do it.
Right.
And then let's move on, though. I don't want to badger him. Yeah, and that one hurts, man. And especially if Joe goes in too. If the stuff about Joe is true and he goes in as well, that's our 2 point guards, man.
We don't know if it's an ESPN article right now. It just popped up on my screen, Couz, if you can find it.
About Kerr?
Yeah, I just had that happen literally 2 minutes after I got the message.
Okay. I'll look for it, man, but it'll take me a minute.
Right.
You want to address a couple comments while I'm looking?
Sure. Yeah, so how that's going to work is the funding will still be there from everything. I've asked several people. The funding will still be there. There are players available in the portal right now. I think we just have to kind of get used to the idea that this roster is not going to look like we thought it was going to look. But there's Paul Mulcahy, there's Alexis Yetna, there's guys like that are, still pretty good players. I think Paul Mulcahy's better than Kirk Risa. I've said that the whole way. So if we're able to get a Mulcahy, if we're able to get a guy in place, get a Mulcahy in time, then no harm, no foul. But it all depends on who we replace Kerr with. And we still don't know if he's doing the same thing Trey is and still monitoring the situation, just saying, hey, look, we need you all to make a decision. Or, if they don't make a decision, then they have their answer. They don't care about the players. They're looking for a long-term coach, So, but guys, I would highly advise all of us to get off the players, to start focusing towards the future of this program and really start hoping for the best coach possible. Not a Huggins disciple, not an internal guy. I think, maybe it is Ben McCollum. Maybe it is Ben McCollum. Maybe he'll be great in 2 to 3 years. But that's why I think Wren if we're just finding out about it, Wren's known about it for 2 hours, 24 hours, or however long. So I'm sure that's why this is expanding out the coaching search like we just saw. So I would imagine this coaching search is going to go on a little bit longer, especially if players are going to leave anyway.
Well, and I was getting ready to get to that. Once I touch on this, I did find the article. I'll pull it up in a second. But guys, what happens? Let's this is the theoretical scenario here. Let's say he promotes Josh Eilert, okay, an assistant coach who's been with Hug 17 years, but has only really been an on-court assistant for a couple of years. He spent most of his career as a film guy, operations, director of operations, I think is what they call it. I don't know the exact title. Video coordinator. He was video coordinator for a while. That was most of his career. He's only been an actual on-court assistant for 2-3 years, something like that. I don't know the exact number. So very little experience on that regard. But he has been around the game a long time, and he played college ball, is my understanding, at Kansas State. So I'm not saying he can't do the job, but what happens if they promote him to try to save the roster? Then they leave anyway. And oh, by the way, you could have hired John Beilein, or you could have hired, and I'm not sure, I don't even know if Beilein's an option, but you could have hired John Beilein. You could have hired Andy Kennedy. You could have hired somebody else.
There are no guarantees.
Who you feel in your heart is a better coach, but you didn't because you wanted to try to. Is playing for one season really the right move here? And I know as fans, we want to win now, but let's take a step back, like Paul said. Look at what's best for the future, and what's best for the future might mean this season is a disaster. Now, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope they're able to do both. But guys, I'm telling you, once these guys get into the portal, the likelihood of getting them back are extremely slim, because you're going to have every team in America, and I'm exaggerating there, but you're going to have a lot of big name programs, blue blood programs reaching out to these guys, offering them a bag of NIL money. Okay, probably more than what West Virginia can pay them potentially. Like I said, and that's not a shot at any CRT or Toothman or anybody. That's just the facts. Okay, some schools have deeper pockets than we do, and it's always going to be that way. So maybe we need to get our focus off of now and the guys leaving and look ahead. Maybe that's the best move, and I hope that Wren Baker's not getting pressured into doing that. I don't know, man. As a fan, I really, really want to win now and take advantage of this roster, but to be objective and to be analytical and to be an analyst and to look at this thing from 10,000-foot view or however they say it, maybe that's not the best move. Tucson enters too. Oh my God, this is yeah. At this point, if I'm Wren Baker and I'm seeing this, I'm going out and hiring a coach that I think is best for the job and forget all this mess. Yeah, it's too late now, in my opinion, to salvage it. What do you think, Paul? You think it's too late to salvage it?
I think it's important to remember that there are players out there. This money comes back to West Virginia and can be used to get other players. The question is who is out there and how good are they? I think whoever that is, will be contacted depending on who we hire. Let's say it's Andy Kennedy. Who's to say an Eric Gaines from UAB doesn't step in, the guy that can jump out of the gym? I don't want to overreact, but I also want to give it its due reaction.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kerr, Joe, and Trey are huge losses. Moore will probably, I would say, Edwards will probably be in the portal soon as well. Obviously, he's the centerpiece of this class. If we can keep him, I think you can fill in good players around him. But as of right now, things don't look good. It's not a listen, guys. We should be used to this. We need to stop expecting the best as Mountaineer fans, right? The best never happens to us. At least it hasn't happened in a long time. So I think if this is either one of two things, the players are saying, hey, either hire a coach today or we're gone, or they're gone. They've been offered a bag already. Think about it. They've had a 30-day window to go wherever they want. Even if, like he said earlier, Eilert were to be hired, they've still got, 20-something days left, 20 days left to be recruited out of the portal. Who's to say that they say, oh, yeah, you've hired the internal guy we want, and then over the next 20 days, they get recruited. They probably still leave anyway. We're stuck with Josh Eilert, no team.
Yeah. Nathan Scott, thank you for the super chat. $1.99 says maybe a coach had been hired. That's why Kerr's out. It's possible. Maybe Wren went into the meeting today. He had a meeting with the team yesterday. I'm sorry. Maybe he said, guys, we're looking at this guy. He's number one on it. I mean, I don't know. He seems to be pretty transparent about things. Maybe that's what he did. I doubt he's done that, but who knows? I think the guys are just tired of waiting. And I saw somebody say here that Wren's dragging his feet. Guys, it usually takes about 21 days to hire a coach at this level. It's been less than a week. He's not dragging his feet at all, man. It's almost impossible unless you just go in and promote somebody from internally from day one, which maybe he should have done. I don't know. Unless that's the route you're going, you've got to do your due diligence. You've got to call agents. You've got to wait for return phone calls in some cases. You have to schedule interviews. Guys, these guys are coaching teams. They can't just drop what they're doing and pick up the phone and say, oh, yeah, let's interview in 30 minutes. It's not how it works, man. It takes time. So there again, I don't mean to harp on this, but guys, give Wren Baker some slack, man. What AD have you ever seen that's had to deal with what he's had to deal with since what he get? He started his job in December. In 7 months, he's had to deal with a football program in shambles. Maybe shambles is too strong of a word. A football team that's down. He lost his women's basketball coach unexpectedly. And now all of a sudden he has 2 issues with Huggins back-to-back in 6 weeks. A coach who's a legend. I mean, this guy he walked into an absolute hornet's nest here. So cut the guy some slack. I think.
Do we have Seth Wilson in the chat? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
Do we?
It seems like people are asking about him. Seth Wilson is in the chat room. Seth, if you're in the chat room, certainly we would want to know your thoughts on the situation.
Yeah, if that's the Seth Wilson that plays for WVU, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's the comment. After Andy Kenny's comment on being considered WVU and being sheep didn't sit well.
Can you confirm Seth Wilson if you are the Seth Wilson?
John Waffle H2P, thank you for the super chat, man. WVU should go get Tony Shaver. I'll be honest, I don't know who that is. Paul, do you?
No.
Gavin Stutler says this LOL different Seth Wilson. Thank you. I had a feeling that was the case, but
yeah. Well, I've seen people in the chat room.
Yeah. Seth Wilson, I'm sure, is a pretty common name. So.
Yeah. Very good point.
Wren has to do an extensive background check. It'll take weeks. It has to be a boring hire because Huggins' mishaps. And I also saw somebody talking about why can't WVU get good coaches. You got most teams are hiring their coaches in March and April when the season's just ended. We're in June, just a couple months before they start practice, or 4 months before they start practice. They're in the middle of summer workouts. In this case, they were getting ready to take a trip to Italy, which will totally be all. I'm sure that ain't going to happen now. So, I mean, he just, like I said, we're just it's just a shit show and a shitty situation. I don't know how else to put it, man. There's no other way. You can't sugarcoat this thing. Wren Baker's earning every dollar he makes right now.
Agree.
And so far, I think he's done a pretty good job. I'm sure has he made some mistakes along the way? Probably, but he's also probably never been dealt this type of situation in his career either.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on with that, man. I mean, he can't let the players control the situation. He just can't. He can't bend to their will. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And Jay Christ makes a great point. Season ticket sales about the tank. And guys, I'm just going to be straight up honest, and all of you are going to get pissed at me for saying this, but I don't care. Even though I love the guy and will always love the guy, and we will probably do a show at some point talking about our best memories of the guy. This is all Bob Huggins' fault, man. We're in this situation because Bob Huggins put us here because he made a stupid mistake. Two stupid mistakes if you want to talk about the other one, but really this one. He made a stupid mistake, man, that has hurt our program, has hurt these players potentially. I'm sure that wasn't his intention was not to hurt anybody. I'm sure of that, or confident of that, but it did.
It never is.
I'm not attacking his character, but the mistake he made has hurt. He's done something I've heard him talk about. He wants to leave this place better than he found it, and unfortunately, because of the mistake he made, he may have done the opposite. Now that's yet to be determined.
In the short term, he did for sure.
Short term. Now let's back up a minute. I'm gonna take that statement back because he got us these facilities we have right now. This arguably the best practice facility in the country. Hugs did that. He raised his own money in some cases for a lot of the things that happened there. So he probably has left it better than he found it long term, but in the short term, it's not going to be pretty potentially. Now, this could all look like garbage today, and they might come in and hire a coach, and things get back on track, and we end up being okay. Who knows? It's hard not to get emotional. I'm a little aggravated right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a little worried, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm upset with Hugs. Like you guys heard me say earlier, I would take Hugs back, even though I know that's not possible. I'm just saying, if it were on the table, I would probably consider it. But I really appreciate you guys for all tuning in. 121 of you. Really means a lot to Couz and I. We started this channel, not that we've hit the big time necessarily, but I don't think either one of us expect this channel to blow up quickly as it has. We're gaining 50 and 60 subscribers per video as of right now, and this news has to do a lot to do with it. I understand that, but we appreciate your all support, man. It means a lot. As to fanatics like you guys are that live and die with every tweet, message board, piece of news that comes out about the Mountaineers in basketball, football, women's basketball, baseball, whichever. If it has to do with our state, we want to know about it. And we appreciate you guys for being here to live through these rough times with us. Can nobody ever say any of us are fair weather fans? This podcast, this YouTube show, and the other ones are for non-fair weather fans only. If you're a casual fan, you're not in this chat room.
Well said, brother. Woo! I like it. I like it. I will cheer for the West Virginia Mountaineers if they're 0-30 or 30-0, and regardless of who their coach is. Whether it's Bob Huggins, John Beilein, Josh Eilert, Andy Kennedy, if they're wearing West Virginia across their chest, they're my team, man, and they're my coach. That's how I feel about it. Let me share the Kerr Kriisa thing on ESPN.
It looked like a longer article to me.
West Virginia's Kerr Kriisa to enter portal after Huggins' exit. Holy crap, what just happened? West Virginia point guard Kerr Kriisa, one of the top college basketball transfers this spring, will enter the NCAA transfer portal in the wake of Bob Huggins' resignation as Mountaineers head coach, he told ESPN. Huggins elected to step down in the wake of being arrested for allegedly driving under the influence, which threw the West Virginia program into turmoil. Great way to describe it. It's been a crazy and busy week, Creasa said. I'm deeply sorry about the situation, as I was really looking forward to playing for Coach Huggins. Hugs will always be my guy. I've only known him for a few months now, but he is the most genuine man I have ever met. He is the man. West Virginia players, such as Creasa, have a 30-day window to transfer due to the coaching change, according to NCAA rules. Creasa will not require a waiver as a first-time transfer.
He hadn't technically played for West Virginia yet, so it didn't really count.
Gotcha. Okay. I was going to say, he follows Trey Mitchell, who was the first West Virginia player to enter the portal since Huggins' resignation. And since then, apparently, we've heard Joe Toussaint's also entering, by the way. Creasa says he is open to returning to West Virginia when more clarity is provided about the coaching situation in Morgantown. That's great to hear. I will still consider coming back when the new coach is announced, Creasa said. For now, I'm entering the portal and want to get this figured out as soon as possible. Schools such as Memphis, Cincinnati, and Nebraska were heavily involved in Creasa's recruitment before he committed to West Virginia in April and are expected to be prominent options if he indeed elects to leave the school. I think that pretty much – I don't think we really need to talk – I mean, that pretty much covers it right there. Don't need to get into the stuff non-related to this. But yeah, there it is, man. Jacob Yoho, we got a super chat in the house, $2. Thank you, man. He says, I would – to go live with you, Couz, talk about something. Well,
maybe in the future that's something we consider a live call-in thing.
Yeah,
is that what he's talking about?
I guess I'm not sure. We're not really prepared to do that today, Jacob. Man, sorry about that. But maybe we can do that in the future. We're just now kind of getting into the groove of these live shows, man. But yeah, absolutely. One of these days, we'll definitely love to have you on. And we appreciate you being here, man. Appreciate you wanting to come on with us. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot else to say. Paul, do you?
Guys, it's going to get worse before it gets better, most likely. Buckle your seatbelts. And if these players enter the portal, guys, please try not to bash them on social media. I understand it's upsetting, but try to understand where they're coming from. As long as they're not bashing us on the way out, we have really nothing to say except wishing them the best. They were put in a tough spot here. So that's well within their rights, and I'm not upset with them personally at all for entering the portal, guys. You can't blame them. As bad as it sucks for us, can't blame them.
Yeah.
As far as Greg Marshall goes, he was involved in a scandal before he left. I think it was Wichita State, where he was abusive to his players. So I don't think Greg Marshall would ever be considered.
Yes, I would love to be a guest on your show sometime. Shoot, I saw another comment I was trying to click on too. Thank you, Kenny. You guys should definitely do a live calling show sometime. That would be great. Yeah, we will in the future, man, for sure. Definitely will. Culpability is on Wren. This is a joke and makes us look bad. Let me ask you a question.
Disagree.
Bill. How was it on Wren? Did he make Bob Huggins drive drunk? Did he make Bob Huggins do that? Did he choose that? And you can't hire a basketball coach unless you promote from within. You're not going to hire a basketball coach. And maybe he should have done that. I don't know. I'm not here to second guess it. But you can't do a thorough coaching search in less than a week, man. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You got to do background checks. You got to vet these guys. You got to do interviews. You have to schedule the interviews based on their schedules. These guys have lives, man. They're coaching teams. They have families. They might be on vacation. You don't know. You got to schedule the interviews. Then you got to have the interviews. Then you got to decide which candidate's the best. The only way to do this quickly is to say, okay, Josh Eilert or Ron Everhart, you guys are promoted. Let's move on. Now, there are some who say he should have done that, and I can see that argument. I really can. But maybe Wren in his mind doesn't think that's the best move. And I look, Wren Baker has been successful at every stop he's made, and I have confidence he's going to make the right decision. But I do respect your opinion, Bill. I'm not throwing shade at you or anything. I just disagree with that statement. Eugene Burns, thank you for the super chat, my man. Thank you for being here. So yeah.
Before we get out of here, guys, one last time I want to ask you guys, it's important for the algorithm that people like the video. If you haven't liked the video, just move your finger or your mouse clicker. It's like an inch. Just click the like. Appreciate everybody that's commented on the video. And if any of you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscription button, guys. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. Also, Mountaineer Paul Talks Football on Couz's Corner. We cover basketball in a very similar fashion. As more news comes out about football, there's been very slow going. We'll get to that as well. Really appreciate you guys for joining us.
And Jacob, another super chat, man, $2. Thank you for getting that in there at the last minute. And yeah, the Andy Kennedy news, Curtis. I saw that earlier myself. But thank you, John. I appreciate the live, the nice comments, man. I really do. I about said live comments because I was reading it. But yeah, guys, we don't really have anything else to say here. I think we've pretty much covered it all. Jake Rice throwing in another $1.99 super chat, man. As long as you guys keep throwing super chats, fans are divided, getting worse the longer we wait. I do agree, Jake. At this point, maybe, I don't know, man. I don't even want to go there. I was going to say maybe they should just go ahead and promote Joshua Ron, but is that really the best?
Hold on a second, Couz.
I don't know. Okay.
What? What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? Grow a pair. I mean, come on, man. Wren has done nothing to deserve an ounce of loyalty. He took the job, man. He's one of us. One of us. One of us.
He moved his family from Oklahoma to West Virginia, or actually Texas to West Virginia. He didn't have to do that. You know? He wanted, and he had other opportunities in the past. He did not have to choose this job, and he did. So I disagree with that, Gavin. I respect your opinion, but totally disagree. Nathan Scott says, my full and supportive actions are with Wren Baker. Thank you for the $99 super chat, Nathan.
Awesome.
Jeff says Gavin needs more hugs.
He's entitled to his own opinion. There's no need to tell us to grow a pair. You could have said the other part.
Yeah, that's all right, though. It's all good.
It's all good.
What has he done in his life to earn that loyalty? Do
you mean respect or loyalty? Because those feels like you should be saying respect.
Have you checked their basketball team's record?
Their coach is now at Texas Tech, right?
Yeah. Texas Tech just hired their coach, so apparently he's not too shabby. Golly. I'm not even going to – I don't know if I'm going to answer his comments anymore. But anyway, he has the right to his opinion. Did I get that last super chat? I think I did. Yeah. Thank you, Nathan, man. We appreciate you.
Sorry, Nathan, if we missed you.
Yeah, I don't think we did, but
things are flying around on here.
Bill Sheets, great. Wren has a boss too, guys. That's exactly right. He has multiple. And I didn't even mention earlier, he has a board of regents. He has a board of regents, the president of the university, the fan base, the donors,
and
now the players.
Yeah.
5 different people he's having to juggle, 5 different groups of people, I should say. He's having to listen to potentially and take their words and opinions and try to make a decision. But go ahead, Paul. I know you got something to say.
The coaches, too. The coaches and also the trust, I think, is kind of separate from donors in a sense. The people that work at the trust probably have their own opinions, too.
Gavin, I'm not even going to answer your comments anymore, brother. You're just trolling at this point. So keep doing what you do, man. Matter of fact, I should just block you, but I ain't. I'm not going to do that. Personal attacks on people is really unnecessary. Has that guy ever done anything to you personally? I'm getting pissed off. I'm just going to stop.
Come on, Gavin. Be better, man. No reason.
Bill says,
I'll wait for him.
Go ahead.
Say, I'm a bigger guy myself, so I understand what that battle's like. There's no reason to go there.
Bill Sheets says, let's go with an interim 1 year and see how it goes. And Bill, at this point, I just want to make a dang decision so we can move past this, man. I had opinions a couple of days ago. Now I'm just like, I just want to coach at this point. I don't even care who it is. I mean, I do care, but you know what I mean. John Kelly says he'd prefer a permanent than an interim and build for the future. Yeah, I mean, I can see him going either way, honestly. Can see it going either way. And that's Gavin, that actually is a fair opinion. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but there again, he has a boss to answer to.
It's the same situation he's in now. He came in late. To fire Neil Brown would have meant he would be in the same situation he is now with the coaching search. Very similar. Yep. There was no time. The season was about to start. When Shane Lyons was let go, very similar to how Hugs has been, that situation. Shane Lyons was let go. How much time to the season was there?
I don't even. Just a few games, not many. It was in the middle of the season. I mean, basically.
How was he supposed to hire somebody?
Yeah.
You know? But I get it. I got nothing else, Couz, if you don't.
I don't either,
monitor.
We're going to call it a day and or call it a live stream. If there's more breaking news, who knows? Heck, we could end up doing this again today, or at least release another video. The way things are moving so rapidly, who knows? But we appreciate everybody being on here, even those who disagree with us. We thank you for being on here, for leaving comments, for the super chats. Much appreciated. Stay tuned. We'll continue to try to provide you guys with updates as this saga unfolds. With that being said, guys, this has been another live episode of Hoops from the Hills, and we are out.